On the 5th of October 2009, a workman clearing vegetation along a slip road on the M5 motorway near Thornbury, South Gloucestershire, noticed a large black bin bag half hidden in the scrub at the edge of the road. Inside were human bones, a skull, a pelvis, a thigh bone. More remains were scattered across the undergrowth nearby. The bones had been wrapped in thin black bin liners and bound with blue polypropylene rope, tied with 7 distinct knots. Among the remains, investigators recovered a piece of jewellery. They showed it to a couple who'd been waiting 13 years for any word about their missing daughter. They confirmed it was hers. Through dental records, the remains were formally identified 2 days later as belonging to Melanie Hall, a 25-year-old woman from Wiltshire who had vanished from a nightclub in Bath in the summer of 1996. 13 years of silence ended by a workman and a bin bag on the side of a motorway. Melanie Hall was born on August 20th, 1970. She grew up in Bradford-on-Avon, a small town in Wiltshire, just a few miles southeast of Bath. Her family described her as warm, trusting, and home-loving. Her mother Pat said that graduating from university had been a cherished dream, and Melanie had made it happen, earning a degree in sociology and psychology from the University of Bath in 1995. She went on to work as a clerical officer at the Royal United Hospital in Bath. Her father, Steve, was the chairman of Bath City Football Club. Her sister, Dominique, would later describe Melanie as incredibly kind, trusting, and perhaps a little naive. She was close to her family and lived a stable, quietly ambitious life. On the evening of Saturday, June 8, 1996, Melanie's mother dropped her off at the home of her boyfriend, Philip Karlbaum. From there, Melanie, Philip, and another couple headed out to Cadillac's nightclub in the centre of Bath for a Saturday night out. It happened to be a night that many in England would remember, the opening match of the Euro '96 football championships, where England drew 1-1 with Switzerland. The club was busy. At some point during the evening, Melanie danced with another man. Philip saw this, and an argument followed. He left the club upset and went home. Melanie stayed. The last confirmed sighting of Melanie Hall alive was at 1:10 in the morning on June 9th, 1996. She was sitting alone on a stool at the edge of the dance floor. She was wearing a pale blue silk dress, black suede mule shoes, a cream long-sleeve jacket, and was carrying a black satchel-type handbag. From that moment on, she was never seen again. Melanie didn't turn up for work on Monday. By Tuesday, June 11th, her parents, who knew their daughter's habits and routines, reported her missing to Avon and Somerset police. The initial investigation treated it as a standard missing persons case, but that assessment didn't last long. Detectives launched searches along the River Avon, interviewed thousands of club goers and taxi drivers, and offered a £10,000 reward for information. A Crime Watch reconstruction aired in November of that year, generating a wave of public interest, but no breakthrough. Police released an e-fit of a man who had been seen talking to a woman matching Melanie's description inside Cadillac's nightclub. He was described as white, around 27 years old, 5'10", with dark brown hair, bushy eyebrows, and clean-shaven. He appeared to have been wearing black trousers, black shoes, and a brown silk shirt, possibly with a gold hoop earring and a flashy gold watch. That man has never been identified. There was also an unconfirmed sighting that troubled investigators. A woman matching Melanie's description was reportedly seen arguing with a man in Old Orchard, a street just around the corner from the nightclub entrance, between 1:45 and 2 in the morning. It was never verified whether this was Melanie, and the man in that sighting was never traced either. Despite the massive police effort, the trail went completely cold. No trace of Melanie was found. No body, no clothing, no belongings. Her pale blue dress, her black shoes, her cream jacket, her handbag, her checkbook, her next watch, her silver earrings, none of it ever turned up. In November 2004, 8 years after she vanished, Melanie Hall was declared legally dead by a court. Her body had still not been found. Then 5 years after that, October 5th, 2009, the motorway discovery. The post-mortem examination revealed that Melanie had suffered severe blunt force trauma, resulting in fractures to her skull, cheekbone, and jaw. She had been wrapped in black bin liners and bound with a 13-meter length of blue polypropylene rope, the kind commonly used on building sites and for drawing electrical cable. The rope had been made from 4 separate lengths, knotted together. In total, there were 7 knots, 3 joining the rope segments, and 4 more binding the bags. 3 keys to a Ford vehicle, possibly a Transit, Fiesta, or Escort, were also found near the body. The vehicle has never been identified. A detective named Mike Britton, who had spent 13 years working the case under the codename Operation Denmark, stayed on past his retirement to continue the investigation. He wasn't ready to let it go. Over the years that followed, the investigation into Melanie Hall's murder became one of the longest-running and highest-profile cases ever handled by Avon and Somerset Police. Hundreds of officers worked the case. Over 6,000 investigative actions were carried out. More than 2,000 witness statements were taken. And across nearly 3 decades, 11 people were arrested in connection with her death. Not a single one was ever charged. In 2003, 2 men were arrested and released without charge after police searched buildings and a field near Bath. In 2009, shortly after Melanie's remains were identified, a 37-year-old man in Greater Manchester walked into a police station and confessed his involvement in her murder. He was eliminated from the inquiry after undergoing psychiatric evaluation. In 2010, 2 more men were arrested on separate occasions, one in Bath, one in Wiltshire, and both were released on bail. In 2013, a 44-year-old man was arrested at an address in Bath, and a property at Roundhill Park was searched. A year later, prosecutors said there was insufficient evidence to charge him. In 2016, another man was arrested after DNA was retrieved from the location where Melanie's remains had been found. He too was released. Alongside these arrests, a string of high-profile names were investigated and ruled out. In 1998, police questioned John Cannon, the convicted murderer widely suspected of killing estate agent Susie Lampler in 1986. Cannon was in prison at the time Melanie disappeared, but detectives investigated claims that he had plotted what he called the perfect abduction from his cell with a fellow inmate, a convicted rapist who was later released. Strangely, some witnesses came forward to say they were certain Cannon was the man they'd seen abducting Melanie that night. Despite the fact that he was behind bars, Melanie's parents feared that if Cannon was responsible, they might never learn the truth, given his reputation for withholding information to maintain control over investigators. Detectives also investigated potential links to Levi Belfield, the serial killer who murdered Millie Dowler and 2 other women, and Christopher Halliwell, who killed 2 women in the Swindon area. Both were ruled out. Perhaps the most unsettling lead involved the so-called Batman rapist, an unidentified serial attacker who terrorized women in Bath during the early 1990s, named after a Batman baseball cap he left at one crime scene. On the same night Melanie vanished, just hours before her last sighting, this individual had attempted to carjack a woman at knife point in the same area of the city. She fought back and escaped. The Batman rapist has never been caught, and his connection to Melanie's case has never been confirmed or ruled out. Behind every cold case is a family that doesn't get to move on. For nearly 30 years, Steve and Pat Hall have carried the weight of not knowing who killed their youngest daughter or why. They have made appeal after appeal, standing in front of cameras and microphones and pleading for someone to come forward. In 2016, they personally reinstated a £50,000 reward for information leading to an arrest and conviction. They have appeared on Crime Watch, spoken to national newspapers, and sat through press conference after press conference with a composure that most people could never manage. In 2019, Steve Hall said the pain remained raw even after 23 years. In 2023, as the case approached its 27th anniversary, he described the family's condition in stark terms. They carried a deep sorrow, a deep grief. They had lost something beautiful and precious that could not be replaced. He called his family a family with a piece missing. That same year, Melanie's sister Dominique made her own public plea. She urged anyone with information to come forward now, not later, not eventually, because her parents were approaching 80 and time was running out. She said it plainly. Now would be the time before it's too late. And there is evidence. The investigation is far from exhausted. In October 2019, police revealed a significant forensic development. They had obtained a partial DNA profile from the blue polypropylene rope that had been used to bind the bin bags around Melanie's body. The DNA is believed to potentially belong to the killer. It has not yet been matched to any known individual, but it remains the strongest forensic lead in the case. The rope itself, 13 meters, 4 separate lengths, 7 knots, continues to be a focus. Police have specifically asked whether anyone owned blue polypropylene rope that went missing around June 1996, or knew someone whose behaviour changed after that date. They have also sought information about a white Volkswagen Golf GTI connected to the inquiry. The 7 knots suggest the person who tied them had some expertise, the kind of knotwork associated with building trades, sailing or electrical work. It was deliberate, it was practiced, and the person who tied those knots is still out there. In 2025, a new detective took over the investigation. Detective Chief Inspector Ben Lavender inherited what is one of the most complex and enduring murder inquiries in the history of Avon and Somerset Police, and he immediately set about conducting what he described as a root and branch review of the entire case. His team has been digitalizing all files and exhibits onto a modern major incident database, reviewing almost 100 hours of CCTV footage and revisiting key witnesses to check whether the information they originally provided still holds up. Lavender has also stated that his team is looking to capitalize on forensic advancements and exploring whether artificial intelligence could be used to process the vast amount of data the case has generated over 3 decades. In March 2026, DCI Lavender appeared on BBC Crime Watch alongside Melanie's father Steve and sister Dominique in a nationally televised appeal. Crime Stoppers announced a reward of up to £20,000 for information leading to an arrest and conviction. Lavender made a direct plea to the public, and specifically to anyone who may have been involved, even on the edges of the crime. Police are not only looking for the killer, they are asking whether someone helped dispose of Melanie's body, but wasn't involved in the murder itself. If that person is out there, they want to hear from them. He also made clear that key lines of inquiry remain very much active. The e-fit from 1996 of the unidentified man in the nightclub is still a focus. The unconfirmed sighting in Old Orchard has never been resolved, and police are keeping an open mind about when Melanie's body was dumped at the motorway. It could have been in the hours after she went missing, or in the days that followed. The investigation into Melanie Hall's murder has now spanned nearly 30 years. If you have any information about the murder of Melanie Hall, you can contact the Operation Denmark Incident Room or report information through the Major Incident Public Portal.